Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education meeting for November 15th, 2021. Please stand for the pledge. At 6:34.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming out this evening to our meeting. We'll move to item B, additions, deletions. We have none this evening. Item C, recognition presentations. Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Benhart. This evening, we're going to have a presentation on technology. One of our initiatives this year with OnetoOne is to just implement it with fidelity. And so we have some of our instructional technology coordinators here tonight to present. We have Amy Yetnak and Jessica Cole, and of course, Sarah Monier White leads the initiative. So what they're going to talk to us about is just what's going on out in the schools related to one-to-one computing. So I'm going to turn it over, and I'm not sure if Amy, are you gonna? Jessica, all right. So go ahead and let's talk about tech.
Good evening, Board of Education and District Administrators. My name is Jessica Cole, and this is Amy Yetnak, and we are two members of a 5-person instructional technology team here in Chippewa Valley Schools. We're here tonight to review and update you on our district's recent transition to the one-to-one format. Before we get started, we want to acknowledge that without the board's continued dedication to our students here in Chippewa Valley Schools, going one-to-one would not have been an option. So we want to take the time and thank you for that. We also want to acknowledge our amazing tech admin team, our phenomenal help desk staff, and our district media staff. All together has formed a network of support that has all together made this a successful transition.
All right, so as you know, going one-to-one in Chippewa wasn't really something that was part of our plan, but something wonderful that came out of a challenging time for us in the past 18 months is that we were able to do this. So as you know, in October of 2020, you voted to go one-to-one, which meant purchasing 9,300 more computers. We had already purchased an additional 3,000, and it also meant additional staff to support that initiative. So over the course from November to about May, those computers started to come in. Of course, chip shortages and things like that didn't get them in as fast as we would have liked. But as soon as they came in, we were able to get them out to students who still needed them for virtual. And then as students started to transition back into the classroom, we also tried to provide some classroom sets of computers for people who needed them for instruction. You also approved some management and some filtering that we're going to talk about in ClassLink, which is a program that's helping us with one-to-one. And then of course, at the end of the school year, we had to collect all of those laptops, get them all ready to go for this year, reposition them to the buildings they needed to be in. And then of course, in fall of 2021 was our full rollout of one-to-one.
So when we first started this process, when we knew we were going one-to-one, we decided it was important to identify our why. Why did we want to go one-to-one? What about one-to-one would help our students become more successful? How is it going to benefit our students? A technology-infused classroom is defined as a classroom where teaching and learning outcomes are the most important aspect, but the tech enhances already purposeful learning. So we know in Chippewa Valley Schools, we have amazing teachers. The goal that we had was to take this new technology and find a way to add it to what they were already doing to enhance and amplify the outcomes. A technology infused classroom offers and makes available student-centered learning and student thinking. It gives students new ways to construct and show their learning. Students have greater autonomy over what they're doing. It increases their engagement. It helps us accelerate learning, which is a big thing this year, especially because it allows for differentiation between students and what they're doing. It allows for computer literacy and competency, which in this day and age is absolutely vital going into the workforce. And it allows teachers a more easy way of providing formative assessment, which then will drive their instruction. So what does one-to-one look like in Chippewa Valley schools? All of our students, kindergarten through 12th grade, that's 15,000 students, each have their own individually assigned laptop. So I think that's an amazing feat, and they're all using them in their classrooms. In the middle and the high school, each student was assigned their own individual laptop and protective case at the beginning of the school year. They're expected to carry their laptop from class to class, as well as take it home in the evenings. The laptop has become a class supply, so it is expected that they bring it to class every day, as well as bring it to class charged. In the elementary school, they are also assigned an individual laptop. The only difference is that instead of bringing it home each night, it can be stored in a cart in their classroom that will not only keep it there for storage, but also charge it. The laptops are being used daily, and it is up to the classroom teacher's discretion if they want the students to bring home the laptops each night.
So with the move to one-to-one also meant an addition of more people on our team, which is very exciting. Sarah and I are very excited to have additional instructional people on our team. So Jessica and I are two of them. Lauren Crumples is also here tonight. She is another member of our team. And so is Dawn Barrett, who is not here tonight. But what we did is we split all of the buildings amongst the 4 instructional coordinators. And what that does is it allows us to be a main point person for all of those buildings. So teachers, when they would like to meet with us, can schedule us on our calendar, and then we can come right to them and provide the level of support that they need to be able to implement the one-to-one in an effective way. And we'll talk more about how we support the teachers.
So in order for this one-to-one initiative to even get started, there was a ton of work that had to happen behind the scenes. 2 major pieces that needed to be set up were the Cisco umbrella and the Microsoft Intune. Cisco umbrella is a remote filtering system. It provides device filtering on and off site in conjunction with our firewall. Overall, it just ensures that we meet legal requirements for device filtering, and most importantly, it means that it keeps our students safe while they're online. The Intune, Microsoft Intune, is a cloud-based computer management system. It controls and updates laptops remotely, and it allows us to change policies like adding new bookmarks, blocking downloads, deploying different apps, all without collecting individual machines in order to make that happen. Each time a device connects to the internet, the policies and deployments are automatically updated. So that allows us to manage even CVVA laptops, even when they're at home and offsite completely. How this has really played a role for us, a positive, is last spring, there was many students who were taking AP tests online. And in order to do that, they needed specialized software. And with Microsoft Intune, we were able to identify those students specifically and deploy the programs they needed just to their laptops. There was no need for them to come in or come on site. We were able to do that remotely. So one of the major first projects that we started on when the decision to go one-to-one happened was we started working on the one-to-one technology handbook. Within the handbook, there's lots of different items that I'll mention, but first I want to bring up the fact that in the handbook, there is rewritten AUP agreements, that's acceptable use policy agreements. So every time a student or a teacher or a staff member signs into a district device, they agree to our district AUP. And for students using computers every single day, we felt it was important that they understood what that meant. So we rewrote them into appropriate wording for elementary and then secondary. So there are different leveled AUPs in the handbook. There's also digital citizenship and healthy media use recommendations. Student and parent responsibilities gone over in detail, so there's really no question of what we're expecting of them. Information on how to use the laptop and where to obtain help if needed, and copies of every necessary form you can imagine that parents and students might need when handling a district laptop. After we had gotten the bones of that put together over last spring, we actually met with media center clerks and had them go over the handbook with us. We kind of combed through it so that they could identify any processes or different rules and things that they felt were necessary in order for this to be successful in each building. After that, we also included teachers and other building staff for their input. So after everybody was able to combine all of their input for us on this handbook, I think the final product really has become an integral part of making this one-to-one transition successful.
One of the obstacles that we did identify was how are we going to get students and staff to easily be able to sign into district programs? A lot of them use our district email and password, but there are also many programs that teachers and students use that do not. So the thought of them having to remember passwords and be able to sign into multiple different programs was really an issue. So we found ClassLink, which you purchased for us in May, and ClassLink is a single sign-in. So now students can easily sign in one time to the ClassLink platform, and all of the programs that we roster, plus programs that teachers use, can be on one single dashboard for them. And this has been fantastic. The QR code that you see is a quick card, and what that does is it allows kindergartners and first graders to log into district computers without having to enter numbers. Because picture a 5-year-old trying to type 17600214115 and a password. So now they can easily hold up their quick card to the camera on the computer, and it signs them in to the program, and they're able to use all of the district programs without having to enter any type of username or password, which is phenomenal. It also gives us some analytics about what programs are being used, and it's really customizable to whatever a teacher might use in their classroom. So that's kind of hard to see up there, but just some quick stats. We obviously started using this in September. Already we have between 10,000 and 13,000 logins per day, which means that we have successfully started to get this where every student is using it. Students can also use this at home. So when they take their laptop home and they need to access Schoology or Office or Lexia, things, all the district programs that we roster, they can also sign in the same way from home. So there's been 800,000 apps launched so far since September. And we feel like this is something that has really made a huge difference in being able to provide that access for students and making it easy to use in the classroom. So if you knew me, you would know that everything I do has a theme. It has to have some sort of fun theme. I don't like doing any trainings without it being themed. I don't like doing pretty much anything without a theme. So we made our theme, Rock Your Technology. What we thought this would do as well is kind of pull everything together. So every communication that we've come up with, whether it be a training for teachers, a newsletter that we sent home to parents, anything that we've done so far, we've put that theme to kind of provide a purpose for it. And then it also, we thought it would make it fun. So you got a rock star themed trophy today. We have some trophies and some things that we want to start working through giving them to teachers, like recognizing teachers as being rock stars this year. So we kind of just thought that it would help pull everything together and make it very cohesive.
So once we had the behind the scenes kind of in order and the handbook solidified, we kind of changed our focus over into support. And we identified 3 main groups that we were keeping in mind while planning different support materials. Building staff and teachers, students, and then community members, which is basically families of our students. And the following slides will touch on each of these in more detail.
So staff can, we have 2 calendars. One is pre-planned visits that we plan where staff knows ahead of time that we're coming to their building. And then we also have an open calendar on the days that we haven't pre-planned, so that if a teacher was doing something amazing in their classroom and they thought they would like us there for support, they could pick the day that worked for them. So we have two different types of calendars. Things that we suggest for in-person for us coming into the classroom is modeling a lesson in front of the class, co-teaching with the teacher, helping them identify what they're trying to do, and then support them by finding technology resources, maybe teaching them how to use something new that they haven't used before, helping with formative assessment. So any type of resource that they might need to go along with their lesson that would help them feel more comfortable using that technology in their classroom. We also started last year a Schoology course that has resources for teachers. So a lot of how-tos on different district programs, things like Unified Classroom, which they use for their grade book, Schoology, Office. And what we tried to do this summer is really organize that and pare it down. Last year, things changed a lot. We kept throwing resources in there for them, hoping that it would help, but we really wanted it to be an organized place where everyone knew that that was where they go when they need a how-to guide, or that was where they go when they need directions. So that resource course is available for all of the staff, and they use Schoology frequently now, so it's an easy place to find all of the things that they need. And then of course, we've also done staff meeting time. We offered optional summer PD before school started, so people could take a tech integration level 1 before school started, and then when they came back in the fall, they had the option to do level 2. And then we've just fortunately have been able to get some professional development time this year, so we've used a lot of that to kind of go over all of the district programs and support the teachers.
When it came time for student support, we went into Schoology again because we knew students were comfortable going there. It's a platform that they're used to. And we created a technology course that was housed in Schoology that every single student is enrolled in. So when they click on My Courses, our technology course is one of their courses available there. And this course offers support to students in multiple ways. There's activities that are in there that teachers can use to help introduce the use of these laptops to students and get them comfortable. There's help documents where students can go for resources if it's outside of school time and they want a quick tutorial on how to use OneNote to take notes or something like that. There's a copy of the One-to-One handbook, as well as printable copies of all of the forms that are included in that handbook. So that's helpful for parents. And frequently asked questions that we update pretty regularly. With things that come up regularly, we try and update in that area. We also, with the onset of COVID, the student help desk became a reality. The student help desk is a system that students can log into and enter a ticket with an issue or a problem or a question that they're having with their district laptop. And we have help desk staff that is designated to respond to these tickets promptly so that students can have the support that they need. Both of these items are with the intention of, if a student is at school, they have resources at school like teachers and media clerks to ask, but then in addition to that, this is supportive to them outside of that time as well. A large part of ensuring success in this one-to-one transition, we felt, was to inform and educate families ahead of time as to what was coming, what did it mean for their students to go one-to-one, as well as what was the expectations with our whole district going one-to-one. So we started at the beginning of the summer of May, June, and we started creating these tech newsletters that would go home bi-weekly via school messenger. And each newsletter actually would go over a different section of the one-to-one handbook. So by the end of the summer, we had this collection of information that was very quick and easy to read, that parents would then be informed of what the expectations were or what was coming with this one-to-one initiative. Along with all of that information about the handbook, there was also, we advertised our virtual parent tech night, which we held right at the beginning of the school year. We had 2 different sessions. One was focused more for elementary, the other for secondary, and we were able to go over the handbook. We were able to answer questions live, and as well as talk about just the different issues that might come up over the school year with being one-to-one. In addition to the parent tech night and the newsletters, we also added a section into our Chippewa Valley website called the Tech Support for Families section. And it's its own page, and it's kind of just one location to access like all avenues of our support that we offer. So it's a one-stop shop for support.
So this is the best part. So all of this happened over the course of the last year to get us ready for where we are right now. And there are so many wonderful things going on in the district right now using these computers. So we couldn't do a lot of examples, but we wanted to just give a few quick examples. On the left side of that page is some comics that a 4-5 blend teacher had her students. They gave her the opportunity to use a website to make comics for what they were learning about in ELA. On the right side is an elementary science class where they're learning about space, and they used an interactive website that had a bunch of fun activities to learn more about the planets and space, and they had a lot of fun interactive activities on there. This is an example on the left is a worksheet from our Journeys, which is the elementary ELA program. A lot of the worksheets, some teachers are turning those into interactive activities. So on the right is a program called Lumio, where you can have them either come up to the smartboard and match up those things the same way they would do on that paper. You can also assign that through Schoology where students could practice that at home. And it's just a more interactive and engaging way to do the same thing that you would do if you were having them fill out that worksheet. So a lot of teachers have started to move to that, and we're also going to start helping them create those kinds of materials.
So we thought it might be fun to show you what one-to-one actually looks like within our district. The bottom images on this slide are 5th, 4th, and 2nd graders, all using Lexia while in their classrooms. Lexia is a new program to our district, supports our ELA program. When students log in initially, it will screen them and place them at a certain level, and then all lessons moving forward from that will be tailored specifically to their level, so it immediately differentiates between all the students and allows them to learn at their pace and at their level. So in the bottom images, that's all different grade levels using the same program. Above that, we decided to interview a couple of our little ones. The question we asked them was, what did you like most, or what do you like most about having a computer to use in school?
I like most about having computers is that it's much more fun than having to do it on paper, because they get to like a better education. I can get a better education.
Make what?
I'm surprised. That was very great.
All right. And Liam, what is your favorite thing about having a computer?
My favorite thing is that I get to learn things that I don't understand, because mostly if I don't understand the way to solve it, once I get the answer wrong, it'll explain to me so that I can get it right the next time. Like on Vickys, and sometimes I understand, I'm not sure, on Lexia, and a lot of times. Yeah.
Now, what is your favorite thing? And tell me about this.
Well, doing different levels, it makes me think right on the six. We have to complete levels to start.
I could probably watch her talk all day.
Oh, hang on. Sorry.
Yeah, that is more realistic. If you have ever been in a kindergarten classroom in the fall, you wouldn't think that it would look like this slide. I am shocked every day at how amazing this is, but this is actually a kindergarten class. They have been using the computers for the past month, almost on a daily basis. So those kinders can hold up their quick card and log into the computer. They're also using Lexia, like the other picture of older students. But that, like Jessica said, it tests them and they know what level they're at, so they can work through Lexia at their own level. And I am amazed every day that that's what happens with kindergarten in the fall. Who would have thought that they would be able to all be logged into a computer and working by November. So we put that slide up because we thought it was really cool. These are middle school, high school.
Yeah, so this is a glimpse into the secondary level when it comes to one-to-one. The pictures to the side and the top picture, these are actually students that are logging in, getting ready to take an assessment in Schoology. And they are in their foreign languages class. So in the assessment, the teacher actually recorded words and phrases in the language that they were learning, and they're able to listen to those in order to take the assessment. So that's something that is being utilized regularly at the secondary level, especially in the foreign languages program. The bottom image is a freshman biology class, and they had just finished a study on mealworms. And the teacher actually was using the student laptops to do a end of class check-in. And she was going to use the information that she got from her students that evening to assess if she needed to revisit any topics the next day or if she could move on. So she was able to digitally collect all of that information. We also interviewed a couple of our secondary students. We asked them the same questions as the elementary. What do you think are some of the positives of having computers in school?
All my work gets saved on it, and if you pull something up, you can just go back up there. And let's say we need to submit something in class, and you pull up, like, check your answers, it's like right in front of us.
What kind of things do you use your computer for?
I mostly use it for like note taking, like PowerPoints, and like filling in notes, like the teachers have on the board. I like the computer because we get to do our homework at our house, and for you to catch up and you get to see other things.
It's gonna do that again, sorry.
Saved on it, and
So that is kind of a look at where we were and how fast and how far we've come in just over a year. Our next steps are to continue to help teachers design lessons that would make it more engaging by using technology. We want to send out more tech tips to help with implementation. We want to continue to provide resources for families. We've been working on trying to figure out how to maybe do some classes where if parents didn't feel comfortable with Office 365 or Schoology or other programs that their students use, they could come and we could teach them more about how to support their children. And then, of course, we want to look at this year, and we know that no rollout is perfect, and we've hit some obstacles along the way. So we want to look at what we've done this year and how we can improve it for next year.
So we want to leave you with this quote. It's by Mike Folson. He's a principal group product manager at Microsoft Education. It says, it's about helping today's students see how technology will help them change the world and giving them the tools and support they need to envision the bold new world they will be entering upon graduation. Thanks to the board's decision to purchase laptops and making one-to-one a reality for Chippewa Valley schools, we can better prepare our students for the future. Technology itself will never replace great teachers. But when we give our teachers the tools of technology, it allows them to transform our students and prepare them for the future. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Questions or comments on the board?
Thank you. I'm wondering if, being new again on the board, could you give me some quick updates? I assume that the rollouts with Microsoft 365 program. Laptops.
Yes, they all have access to Office 365.
And are the programs on their computer or is it on our servers?
There is both. So when they log into Office 365 online, they can use the online versions. They can also choose to open that up in the desktop version.
So the server farm that we put in years ago when I was on the board, did that have to be increased?
Yeah, maybe Sarah will do a better job of that one.
Unfortunately or unfortunately, the VDI that you're referring to actually passed away last April. So we have been looking at its future as part of the bond, and that is not something that we continued with. With SCCM and Intune, which these two talked about, we can do all of what that was originally purchased for, we can now do that in other ways that are much less expensive and easier to maintain. So we've moved to different forms of management instead of the B block.
Okay, so we're not gonna replace the servers.
No. The B block, it won't be replaced.
Okay, well, obviously, I've been off the board a few years.
No, that's okay. We had set it to retire in July and it decided to go a little early in about April, which caused some scrambling in technology, but we made it through.
Okay, so you're using the 365 platform.
Yes, and it is installed on the district laptop students use, and as Mrs. Stoll mentioned, you can also use cloud-based, and our families can actually install using our licensing. Each student gets 5 free installs of Microsoft Office. So if they have a personal computer at home or a family computer, families can actually download the full Office suite for free using their Chippewa login.
So as long as they're a student, they have that.
Correct.
Okay. And I noticed the new laptops I'm buying are Windows 11. Are we going to upgrade or we don't need to?
We're currently on Windows 10. We're on the latest version of Windows 10. We usually let a new version get tested and tried for quite a while before we roll it out to 15,000 students. We do a lot behind the scenes. So
Probably.
I would say probably not this year at all.
But how would we do that if we don't have the?
That would probably be something that would require us to collect and re-image each machine individually, which is a pretty daunting task. So that is not, a whole new operating system couldn't be rolled out via.
That's what the servers were for before.
Yes, we could update an operating system through the B block if we needed to.
I guess the last question is, do we have any data of problems with kids not having internet?
We did survey a couple times during remote. I don't have that data in front of me of how many students did not have access at home.
Is
But I
it
apologize.
a significant number? Do you remember that?
It wasn't as high as it is in some other areas. We do have pretty good access in our district. During remote, we did invest in some hotspots when everybody was virtual, and we did provide hotspots to families who needed it. We haven't been doing that here this year. One thing we do have though, with Office 365 being hybrid, where it's cloud-based and on the computer, one thing we can really work with teachers and students on is we do what's called syncing with their files. So if I'm creating a Word document for my English class at school and I have it synced on my computer, if I go home, if I don't have internet at home, I can actually still access that file on my laptop. So I can open it, I continue to work on it at home, whether I don't have access or maybe the internet's just out for tonight. Next time you connect to the wireless again, that'll actually sync up to your cloud files. So we encourage students to do that, and it provides a lot of options for students to work even if they don't have internet readily accessible at home.
Yeah, good idea. The only comment I have is that maybe with the bill that was just passed by Congress, there's some money for additional internet support. That was part of the funding for Better Life. Yeah, so maybe there's something we get to help those students.
Yep.
I think it's a great idea. Fantastic presentation. Thank you. And you know, I know that the earlier you get kids to work on computers, the better. I'm amazed my 8-month-old granddaughter can, one of them at least, she can actually dial with our phone. I don't know how she did it, but she's calling people and she picks up how to do that and go through scrolling through the phone and everything. The iPhone, I don't know how they do that at 8 months, but I guess if she giving computers to kids young is very important. I'm glad we're doing it. I think it was a good decision by this board. Thank you.
So Ken, that probably explains the pizza showing up at your door, right?
Yeah. The worst thing is they lock you out
You know,
of your phone.
your house.
Grandkids sometimes do that.
Are there other, I want to make a couple comments, but if there's anything to the board, I think now is your time. So any other thoughts or questions?
Fantastic presentation, Mr. Roberts. We really appreciate the update. Community's put a lot of resources forth to bring this forward. And anytime we can get more information on what we're up to, some insight, that's a great thing. So thank you very much, technology staff, for our rock star trophies, and also for your presentation tonight.
I would like to make a comment about what's occurring in the school district. And the thing that stood out to me during the presentation as a former teacher is when you talked about single sign-on. And we know over time, and studies have found this to be true, that unless you can support teachers in what they're doing, you will not change. Because teachers are on a treadmill. When they start their school year, they're on a treadmill. And if you want them to assimilate new instructional strategies, they have to be supported to do that. So when we talk about something as simple as a single sign-on, just that would prevent teachers, and no fault of their own, from continuing to do the work they need to do because it is so cumbersome to get the kids started and get going on it. So the board, I just want to recognize what you've done over the last year, because by supporting and approving our instructional technology coordinators is what makes the difference in the use of the technology. I've been there, I've done it, and a long time ago, it looked very different. But you can't teach and have chaos in your room because you can't manage devices, and have kids do things. So the support that these people and our other two instructional technology coordinators provide to our staff is crucial. So thank you for what you're doing. I know that Sarah is probably one of the happiest people in the district this year because not only did she and Amy did all this on their own last year, but Sarah then also runs the whole back end of our tech infrastructure and is responsible for that. So I really expect great things to happen because of people who are able to focus on the things that we need to get done. So thank you to all of you for what you've done so far, and I know you'll keep up the wonderful work. So thank you.
I don't know if you want to say this from back and forth, but I just wanted to make one comment, and that is that I think with this being implemented, which is something that the Strategic Planning Technology Committee recommended at the time, which was 6 years ago.
Almost seven.
Yeah, but part of our strategic plan was that our district would look completely different in 5 years, which didn't quite happen. But a lot of things have happened, and a lot of curriculum changes, a lot of positive things. Student testing has gone up. So I would love to review maybe at some point the strategic plan and see where we stand. I think we've done a lot of what the community that were involved wanted done, and so I hope that the community is happy with that. I think that this is the final thing, the final goal that we have achieved, and I think it's a great one. Lexia, I'm familiar with it because of my grandchildren. It is just phenomenal because, and I have one grandchild that's very excels and the other one that does not, but they still want to go on that more than they want to read a book. I know that's probably not what we want to hear, but it is what reality. And so it's a really amazing tool, and it's having very positive impacts on our students and their ELA progress. So I think, thank you for everything you've done, and I think that the one-on-one, even though it happened through a pandemic, I'm just glad we did take the time to spend the money on it, because I think it's resulting in great things for our students. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to item D, general consent agenda. We have a motion for the general consent agenda. Moved by Mr. Solo, supported by Mr. Pro. Anything on the consent agenda this evening that the board would like to discuss, move, and count to? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Consent agenda passes. This time we have some retirements this evening.
We do, and for the first time in a very long time, we have a retiree with us today. So that's super exciting. Ms. Majewski, we usually have our retirees come forward. So if we could do that, that'd be great.
It's kind of, our new system is kind of come backward. We're trying to recreate the same thing at different times.
Whereas Vicky Majewski has served the Chippewa Valley School District faithfully and diligently for a period of 21 years as a teacher. Whereas Vicky Majewski, through her leadership, has had a positive impact on the staff, students, and the community. Whereas Vicky Majewski, a conscientious, loyal, hardworking employee, has elected to retire. And whereas Vicky Majewski will be missed by all her school colleagues. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Chippewa Valley School District, not only on their behalf, but also that of the superintendent of schools and the administration, extend their thanks and appreciation for a job well done, as well as best wishes for the future. Be it further resolved that this resolution, having been adopted by the Board of Education of the Chippewa Valley School District on the 15th day of November 2021, be made a permanent part of the records of the school district, and a copy sent to Vicky Majewski as an expression of our appreciation.
At this point, Vicky, is we have Sarah, your building administrator, is going to come up and speak. And then you get, I think, almost the last word, so. Be a little paid. I always like to reserve the last for me if I can, but so thanks for being here, Sarah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to give a little bit of background of Majewski. So Vicky is our Cajun queen, and she was born and raised in Louisiana. She did not start her career in education though. Her first degree was in business, and she worked as a district manager for Chrysler. That's where she met her husband, Greg, right over here. And they were both traveling at the time for Chrysler, and they met up at a convention in another city. So they were so in love, they got married very quickly. And so then Vicky ended up leaving Chrysler and moved to Atlanta, which is where Rick was at the time. And they just celebrated their 30th wedding anniversary. So when she was in Atlanta, Vicky did what she termed as odds and ends jobs. And then it was during that time that Vicky decided that she wanted to be a teacher. So she went back to school in Atlanta. She got her degree from Kennesaw State University. That was it. Okay. And she completed her student teaching at Still Elementary in Atlanta. And that's where, when she graduated, they ended up hiring her on staff there. So she taught there for 2 years. But then Rick was transferred to Michigan for his job. And so that brought them to Michigan here. And Vicky at the time was 6 months pregnant. So after she had her first son, then she began subbing for Chippewa Valley Schools. She ended up subbing for about 3 years, had several long-term positions at various buildings throughout that time. And during that time, she was also going back to get her master's degree from Saginaw Valley State University. While she was attending classes there, she met Dr. Jerry Vansky, as he was one of her professors. Jerry later had an opening at his building, and he remembered Vicky. She's pretty unforgettable. So he hired her for a 4th grade position at Erie Elementary in 2000. Then when Shawnee opened in 2002, Vicky and district boundaries were changed. Vicky was displaced from Erie to teach at Shawnee, also in 4th grade. And that's where Vicky remained for the rest of her career. So while at Shawnee, over the course of her time there, she taught 4th grade, 2nd grade, and our enrichment special, which she also had the opportunity during that time to teach technology in the computer lab. So her last position was as our building sub, where she ended up teaching music. In true Vicky fashion, though, when I kind of talked with her about this, she rolled up her sleeves, jumped right in, and welcomed her new assignment. She made it fun and enjoyable for our students, all while having a smile on her face and a positive attitude, which we so appreciate. Over her 21 years in Chippewa, she moved positions in classrooms quite a bit. She never threw anything out because she never knew where she was going to be. And when she started teaching music, she said, I wish I wouldn't have gotten rid of. There's a few things because she thought she was retiring or knew she was retiring. So she started to get rid of some things, but then regretted it. So of all the things that Vicky taught, she said that teaching enrichment and being in the computer lab was the highlight of her career.
She loved being able to do the fun projects and all of the extras to make learning fun for our students. Both of Vicky's sons, Kevin, who's now 27, and Ross, who's 24, went to Shawnee, and she feels blessed to have had the opportunity to have her boys come to school with her during their elementary years. When she wasn't in the classroom, she also got involved in the school community outside of the classroom as well. Every year, Vicky would MC our Shawnee's Got Talent show. She worked our Starry Starry Night Carnival, and she was always planning and organizing fun things for our staff to do. Vicky started the Shawnee Broadcast Club at Shawnee, where our students do the morning announcements to keep our community informed each day. Vicky says that she will miss the people in the community the most when she retires. She has lots of plans to travel during her retirement. Her husband Rick retired 2 years ago, and they now have a trip planned for every month that they can go on and enjoy together. We will miss Vicky terribly. She was always willing to help and find solutions. She would be the first one to jump in and lend a hand whenever needed. Vicky strived to have fun with our students and support them in their learning. She did what was best for kids and went above and beyond to make sure that they were successful. You could always rely on Vicky to have a countdown going until the next break to keep us motivated and to carry on. Vicky, now that your final school countdown has reached 0, we wish you all the best and hope that you enjoy your endless break. Congratulations on the job.
Kind and humble. Thank you, Sarah. I walked in the building tonight, and here's one of my students. So I got to see one of my students, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Fiona, I was here for a few. I've been looking in the building for you. You haven't been here. And I get to see one of my former students, so that's really nice. I moved here 25 years ago, not knowing anyone, and I was fortunate enough to land in Chippewa Valley. So I thank you for taking me in and giving me this opportunity. I've met great friends. I've had a wonderful time, and I'm leaving with wonderful memories. So I thank you, Lord, for that.
So this will be easy. So we always give you parting gifts. What, are you done? Are you done right now?
I'm done.
You're done. Okay. Whoa.
And I just got back from Disney World.
That's good. I just want to say I've known Vicky for quite a few years, and much of what Sarah said, I can absolutely concur. Vicky has just so much enthusiasm for everything she does. She's not afraid to do anything. She knows her abilities as a teacher, and just give her what it is she needs to do and she'll jump in. Vicky has became an enrichment teacher in which she used technology a lot, and I get the occasional email from Vicky saying, you really need to be doing this stuff with the kids every single day like this. So she really advocated for what she thought was really important instructionally. That wasn't part of our plan, but I'm sure Vicky likes what we've done with technology and the direction we're taking with what we saw in the presentation this evening. So thank you for your years of service to Chippewa Valley Schools. We have in here the resolution which was read this evening, and a framed resolution, and we have a bell that is in a shipping container on a big boat outside of Los Angeles somewhere. So call us up about 8 to 10 years. We'll have that for you. Hopefully it goes a lot better than that. So anyways, thank you for your years of service to Chippewa Valley Schools.
Then just really quick, she introduced her family also, that's good with her. Vicky, you just introduced your family, that's with you, your husband, Rick, of course,
I
but.
have my husband, Rick, and my one son's in Alabama, and my other son couldn't make it tonight, but I have my wonderful friends, my secretary, Mary, who, she and my husband went to school together, and her husband.
Kindergarten through 12th.
Was one of my parents, and another one.
Great, thanks. Well, it sounds like you had an awesome career here in Chippewa. It sounds like we're gonna be so much missing you in our buildings. And we want to thank you for your dedication to our children, to our community at large, to make it a better place. And we wish you the very, very best in your retirement. Thank you so much. All right. So I have to give some other parents.
We have another resolution this evening for two individuals who were not able to join us. Whereas Judy Lasowski and Tom Slovichek have served the Chippewa Valley School District faithfully and diligently for a period of 20 years as a bus driver and 33 years as a custodian, food handler, and groundsman. Whereas Judy Lasowski and Tom Slovichek, through their leadership, have had a positive impact on the staff, students, and the community. Whereas Judy Lasowski and Tom Slovichek are conscientious, loyal, hardworking employees and have elected to retire. And whereas Judy Lasowski and Tom Slovichek will be missed by all their school colleagues. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Chippewa Valley School District, not only on their behalf, but also that of the Superintendent of Schools and the administration, extend their thanks and appreciation for a job well done, as well as best wishes for the future. Be it further resolved that this resolution, having been adopted by the Board of Education of the Chippewa Valley School District on the 15th day of November, 2021, be made a permanent part of the records of the school district, and a copy sent to Judy Lasowski and Tom Slovichek as an expression of our appreciation.
So Mr. Bednar, Judy was supposed to be here, and it just came up today that she couldn't. So the transportation department, the administration down there, put something together. I like to read it about Judy. Sure. Since they put a lot of effort into it, and I think it's worthwhile.
Absolutely.
Judy was hired on April 12, 2002 as a bus driver. That's 19 years and 7 months that Judy has been a reliable, kind-hearted, loving bus driver with our district. Judy is known by her peers as friendly and a caring person that would help anyone out. Judy has been a special needs driver for many years and has taken care of her students as if they were her own. This was my favorite part. When someone would do her route, the parents would tell the sub how wonderful Judy is with the children. Okay. And you telling me that, but she must have been good. Judy volunteers when she can to help out other routes and drivers. She will be missed by the families that she has had contact with over the years. She's been a dedicated employee to our district and will be greatly missed. We wish her the best of luck in the future and her future adventures. Good luck, Judy. So I think that's quite a testimonial that parents would talk about her as a bus driver, because as we know, our bus drivers are extremely important to our families and to our students. So thank you, Judy, for your years of service.
So, thank you. Okay. Just the other things on the consent agenda, I think in light of what we're seeing in the job market out there, maybe we'll all our hires in the school district badly done here. Yes, so new hires for this board meeting we approved tonight. Jasmine Millen, building parapro at Wyandotte, Shelby Joran, a lunch monitor at Belly, Mitchell Spencer, a network support tech, Kim Johansson, crossing guard for Fox, Paula Banfield, a bus driver, and Nora Elwazani, GSRP preschool aide at Fox, and also a new teacher, Ms. Jessica Lucido, who's going to join us at the CV9 Center as an English teacher. So we want to welcome all those new employees to our district. We want to thank them for taking the time to join our Chippewa Valley family.
Nice to see that we hired more people than resigned this week.
Yes, and one resignation, so we get 7 for 1. Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, I do. We need to do our picture real quick.
Okay.
Because we do that retirees. So, and then this will be a good break time. So once, if anyone's going to leave at this point, you do the picture. Don't leave before the picture, and then if you're welcome to leave or stay, but all me, it's up to you.
Yes. How you doing? How'd you get?
so much fun.
Okay, well, move on to the old business. We have none this evening. F, new business, and real quick, I forgot, let's say a little reminder. Mr. Zach is excused for this evening's board meeting. Okay, we got to F, new business, approved change order summary report, October 2021, Mr. Sullivan.
Recommended motions that the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education approve the 2018 bond issue change order summary report for the month of October 2021.
Moved by Mr. Quinn. Support by Mr. Pearl. Question out, please.
This work consists of changes to existing contracts for the purpose of owner requested work, deducts, code compliance, or hidden conditions on construction and equipment projects. All amounts are within the contingency budget allocation. This report was reviewed with the Building and Site Subcommittee on Monday, November 1st, 2021, and funding will come from the 2018 Building and Site Fund.
Questions, comments, by the board?
We did have questions and we reviewed all of the changes that were significant and things that, you know, just came up and were things that had to be changed based on new requirements and or damages or things that were done throughout the last part, you know, throughout the project. Deteriorating cement, deteriorating faster than we anticipated, that kind of stuff. Anyway.
Yeah.
So explain it to us when gone over.
Just there was some good savings in this one.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's the roof of the building.
Correct.
So they
It's all contingency money from a contract, so it's unused.
I think you just discussed that some of the roofing materials perhaps had to be replaced, didn't have to be replaced. So there was a credit given. You got to speak.
And some of them.
Yes, that's correct. We had several roofs that we replaced this summer. And typically when we have roofs that are leaking, the insulation underneath the roofing material starts to go bad. And once it's wet, it deteriorates, so it needs to be replaced. So we did do an infrared scan to try to quantify that. And then since that scan was done over a year ago, we kind of just bulked that number up to try to account for additional leaks that would happen over the winter. The winter wasn't as bad as what we thought, so we didn't lose as much insulation. So we were able to take a credit back on all the insulation that we overly anticipated might go bad. So we were able to true that up and want to take a savings to the district in this case. And we built in bid unit pricing, so we knew exactly how much quantity we could take back at that time. Cool.
Yeah, so actually, after all the change orders, we came out with a balance of 62,000, put it back in contingency fund. We're pointing that Brian Miles did a fantastic job. We are 47% through our bond projects through the last bond, but yet there is 89% of our contingency money still remaining. So that squirrel numbers are we're in this. No, it's not the case. In fact, we're doing much better for pricing our projects than anticipated. As a result, we'll be able to do more. Building principals will be discussing what projects are important to them. Whatever overages or savings we accomplish through this bond, at the end, we will go after those priorities that are identified by our building principals. So thank you. All right. Questions, comments? Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Yeah, to F2.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Approved football helmet purchase, Mr. Sullivan.
The recommended motions of the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education approved a one-year contract with an option to renew annually for an additional 5 years for youth and varsity helmet purchases utilizing unit prices.
Questions, comments, vote? I get a motion, please. Motion by Ms. Quinn.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Python. Question, please.
Aggressive pricing was obtained through the public bidding process RFP 12.2122. The proposals were reviewed and approved by the athletic directors and purchasing offices. Funding will come from the general fund for this purchase.
Questions, council?
I have a question. Have we used them before?
Right now,
Yeah, I mean, I was just concerned, I mean, this is a safety issue and they seemed quite a bit cheaper than everyone else. And I mean, just personally, I have a concern that we'd be cheaping out on safety. So I just want to make sure we've used them before.
they are the preferred home number of both places.
Oh, excellent. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's direct source too, right? Compared to Burks or Zenith or Service Sports are all like middle vendor. Buy from my dad, or direct from manufacturer, it's fiber savings accomplished. Okay. Any other comments, questions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. F3, approves school lunch branded pizza rebid, Mr. Sutton.
The recommended motions of the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education approved the below vendor for an 18-month contract with an option to renew on an annual basis for 4 additional years. The contract is to provide pizza delivery through this National School Lunch Program.
Motion, please.
So moved.
By Ms. Petty. Support by Mr. Pearl. Reshna.
Aggressive pricing was obtained through the public bidding process, RFP 10.2122. School groups 1 and 3 needed to be rebid after a prior awarded vendor canceled the contract. You remember that?
Yeah.
The proposal was reviewed and approved by the food service and purchasing offices. Funding will come from the food service fund for this purchase.
Questions or comments?
I just have a question. Who canceled on this?
Domino's.
Yeah.
That was
It was a while ago.
3 days before school started. Yep.
So on here, it doesn't show that it's a little bitter.
Right.
It's so it's not.
Right.
Why we, where's Vickys Pizza at? Just curious.
Vickys is at 19 Mile and Garfield.
Oh, okay.
And one of the main multiple factors that they had a taste test, which Vickys came out better.
Okay.
That's
That's important.
Vickys has school reference, us, so it's been using them on a temporary basis,
Okay.
which is a key, and the other vendor did not have a school.
Okay.
That was why we wanted.
Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, essentially, they stepped in once that was back out. So I've had a coupon 789 for a large for 300. It was really good pizza. We appreciate them stepping up and helping us out with $11 too. So, any other questions, council? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Okay, F4, resolution to continue summer tax collection for 2022 tax levy, Mr. Sutton.
Recommend motions that the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education continue for the 2022 tax levy, the collection of 100% of the levy property taxes with the summer tax levy as initially approved in December 1994 to the 1995 levy, and continue until revoked, and then the reading of the resolution be waived.
By Mr. Solo.
Support.
Support by Ms. Aquino. Rationale, please.
Even though a resolution was adopted by the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education in 1994 to institute a summer tax levy of 100%, beginning with the 1995 tax levy and continuing until specifically revoked by Board of Education action. State of Michigan law requires that the district reaffirm that decision every year by adopting a resolution to continue the summer tax levy for the next tax year. This action is required to be taken prior to January 1st of the year the summer tax levy is to be continued. Adoption of the resolution initiates other actions required by law, including requesting the local units of government to collect the taxes on behalf of the district and negotiating the cost.
Questions or comments from the board?
I have one.
we do this opposed to what else? Is there another option?
So if there, you have two options, well, you can not collect taxes, I guess there's three options. But the two options typically are 100% tax levy, meaning you collect 100% of the school district taxes in the summer, or do a 50-50, 50% in the summer, 50% in the winter. We've chosen since 1994 to collect all in the summer.
Besides not collecting taxes, we're still gonna collect.
Right.
Okay.
Which is how you collect it, but we're doing it 50-50 or 100%.
Okay. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Motion passes. Okay. Bring on to item G, from the community. Two slips here this evening. As always, just read the rules for getting community comment. As far as public participation at our board meetings, each statement made must be limited to 5 minutes duration. Participants shall direct all comments to the board, not to staff or other participants. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually. Complaints against identifiable school personnel may not be expressed in open meetings. Such complaints should first be submitted in writing to the board and aired in open or closed session according to the wish of the persons involved. The presiding officer may interrupt or terminate participant's statement. When the statement is too lengthy, person directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. Request any individual leave the meeting if the person does not observe reasonable decorum. Request of assistance of law enforcement officers, removal of the sort of person when the person's conduct interferes with the orderly progress. Call for a recess or adjournment to another time. Like public decorum, so interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting as to warrant such behavior. Waive these rules with the approval of the board when necessary for the protection of privacy or the administration of the board's business. Okay, so again tonight, first up, Ms. Monica Wright. Ms. Wright, welcome. Ms. Quincy.
Tonight I'm going to talk to you about quarantine. Monday, November 1st, I got a call from Little Turtle that my daughter and her class had to quarantine. That is all the information I was given. I was told because of privacy reasons, they could not tell me any more, but I would be receiving an email to let me know when she could return to class. I do find it interesting that we are told that because of privacy, we can't find out any information. We get on the COVID case count, you list staff or teacher, or staff or student. The COVID case count told me that it was staff, so I knew that it was one of the teachers. I then sent an email to the director where I later learned that all 4 of this teacher's classes had to quarantine. My daughter has 16 kids in our class. I'm just assuming the other classes also have 16 kids. The district decided to quarantine around 64 students because of this one positive case. Do you want to know how many other cases were reported during this quarantine? 0, not a single one. I checked the COVID report and there is not another case that has been reported at Little Turtle. Do you think the better option would have been to get a sub for this teacher's classes? My 4-year-old asked me every day if she could go back to school and I had to tell her no. When she asked why, I had to tell her because her teacher was sick, but that she is okay. When the day came for her to finally go back to school, guess what? She didn't want to go. Her learning environment was disrupted because the people who are supposed to be putting all kids first are failing at their jobs. Do you know that disrupted learning is one of the biggest challenges facing students? My daughter is in preschool, and while she was off of school, she missed learning about the letter I and the color purple. She didn't miss out on much learning because we made this learning up at home. But what are these quarantines doing to these students in middle school and high school? They are missing multiple classes and are having, for the most part, to do their learning on their own. I know there is live streaming, but I have heard from multiple parents that the teachers don't always have it on. That's not the teacher's fault because I can only imagine how much work it is for them to have to teach in person and then have to worry about live streaming. How about kids that have had to quarantine multiple times? Here's the thing that is happening with these quarantines. Very few kids are becoming sick, but a huge amount of learning loss is taking place. Next, I'm going to share with you results from a survey that I posted online. This survey was taken by parents that have children in Macomb County schools. There were 152 responses. I'm going to read the results. 91.4% said they do not agree with the quarantine policies for Macomb County schools. 8.6% said they agree. My one child was quarantined 1 time. 96.7% did not become sick while quarantined. 3.3% did become sick. My one child was quarantined multiple times. 96.8% did not become sick while quarantined. 3.2 became sick while quarantined. And sorry, this survey was out of 152 responses. 2 of my children were quarantined one time. 95.9% did not become sick. 4.1% did become sick while quarantined. 2 of my children were quarantined multiple times. 95.1% did not become sick while quarantined. 4.9 did become sick while quarantined. More than 3 children were quarantined once, and 90.9% did not become sick while quarantined. 4.5% became sick while quarantined. 4.5%, several did become sick while quarantined. More than 3 children were quarantined multiple times. 94.1% did not become sick. 5.9 did become sick. My child, 71% said has never been exposed. 29% has been exposed but has not been quarantined. My children, 67.9% have not been exposed. 32.1% has been exposed but had never quarantined. I do understand that students can now test daily to remain in school. I am also not okay with this option, as I would not be testing my healthy child just so they can stay in school. If a child is not showing any symptoms, then they should be able to remain in school without having to test. I do have some fantastic news for the board. Did you know that you have the power to end these quarantines? Crazy, right? Who would have thought that the board could allow these students more of a normal school year if they ended quarantines? We already have the data to show that the majority of students that have to quarantine are not becoming sick. Fowlerville Community Schools had decided to make the right choices for their students. They will not send kids home from school after possible COVID-19 exposure. The district's Board of Education voted to stop quarantines for asymptomatic students. I asked this question in all 3 of Chippewa Valley's parent pages on Facebook. Do you think Chippewa Valley schools should stop quarantining kids? Group 1, 58 said yes, 0 said no. Group 2, 197 said yes, and 14 said no. Group 3, 166 said yes, and 116 said no. Next, again, I'm going to discuss allowing parents to volunteer in school, letting these students attend field trips, and letting certain organizations such as Cub Scouts have access to the school buildings for their monthly meetings. Fraser Public Schools and L'Anse Creuse Public Schools are allowing all of these things to happen in their district. If other districts are able to do this safely, I believe that Chippewa Valley can also do this. My son's school sent home a parent involvement policy. In this policy, it states that Chippewa Valley Schools strongly encourages and welcomes the involvement of parents/guardians in all of the district's educational programs. It is recognized and appreciated that parents/guardians are the first teachers of their children, and that their interest and involvement in the education of their children should not diminish once their child enters the schools of the district. And lastly, the Michigan Association of School Boards hosted their annual leadership conference this past weekend. I believe our new board member volunteered to attend. At this conference, the MASB passed a resolution encouraging the vaccinations of all students. I am just wondering how our board member that was present at this conference voted. I hope he shares that information with parents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments this evening. Next up on Ms. Lexia. Ms. Lexia, thanks for coming this evening. Thank you for your emails. We did see them and appreciate that. So please address the board.
So November 1st, this board's last meeting, I shared the official Michigan You Stood By Me letter directed to all elected officials top to bottom. Tonight, I would like to share that follow-up letter I sent on November 2nd. Mr. Bednard and Mr. Roberts, I'm writing to thank you for the platform you provided on Monday evening and allowing me to share a message that may have pertained to higher elected officials more so than yourselves. I am a mother who paid little attention to politics or school boards up until September of 2020. When a friend of mine sent me a short video clip of the AFL-CIO conspiring with the Sunrise Movement and recruiting Antifa and other groups like Shutdown DC to interfere with the 2020 election. Sounds crazy, right? That's what I thought as I watched and listened to a Zoom call laying out a 5-page plan in phases, including when the key states would shut down tabulation in the night. They had every key state on paper in September before the election. Since September, I have spent hours daily looking into many of today's questionable conspiracies and have connected with like-minded individuals to help shine truth in this fog of war. I know exactly what I sound like to those who are not paying attention and to those who still get their information from mainstream media. It's okay with me because I know I have planted many seeds or pointed directions of truth to many already. I joined a Michigan state group. Every state has one under the same umbrella. We have been busy since November 5th of 2020. We have written letters, emailed reps, filed federal lawsuits, writ of mandamuses, affidavits, while researching and digging into corporations, elected officials, movements, money trails, on top of researching laws, case law, the Constitution, both US and state, Bill of Rights, and Nuremberg Code. Bottom line, the truth always comes in on a donkey, never a Ferrari. I understand your decisions and I do not envy your positions. I only hope that as more and more keeps coming to the surface with elections, COVID, masks, vaccines, testing, your eyes and ears are able to see, hear, and discern. I would love to know that once you understand a little more of what's happening, you would stand with the people, even if it means doing so may jeopardize your own self-preservation. The country is changing rapidly. Every aspect of our institutions like schools, hospitals, military, public safety are being affected. People are now being held in solitary confinement for over 6 months without charges or a court date. Where are the Americans' rights? Millions are illegally pouring into our nation and being promised food, shelter, health care paid for by we the people. Every country is protesting for freedoms that are being stripped away. The world is on fire. As you make day-to-day decisions for the district, you have to be aware of what the potential outcome for this country really is. Please understand that many are standing up and pushing back. My group's most recent tasks were to blast the "You Stood By Me" Michigan letter everywhere possible to remind people that many laws have been broken and many have not been forgotten, while more are being broken daily. Each state has a "You Stood By Me" letter circulating. Also, on November 1st, an emergency writ was filed in the United States Supreme Court being represented by one member of each group, all 50. If you go back and listen to my specific comments, I have not changed course since my first comments in April. I asked specifically if anyone remembers learning how to defend the rights that we were taught we had. Well, I've had a crash course for the last 14 months, and the risks that I am taking by putting my name out there over and over in complete opposition to the agenda set by this administration will hopefully be remembered as noble, brave, and with the attempt to preserving the rights and freedoms of all Americans. My daughter's future depends not only on the actions we take today, but showing her how to defend herself or her own family if the need arises down the road. I thank you again for the platform, and I hope you realize that though some may have felt that the letter I read was not pertinent, it truly was. I hope in the coming months, you will continue to allow the public platform to be utilized by people as we also make the attempt to navigate through these times. Side note, when leaving last meeting, a parent had stated, the board is doing a pretty good job in our district, and our district could be worse off like others are. I completely agree. Yet I see the opportunity for our district to be a leader in the battles ahead. It only takes one spark. Respectfully, Rita Zielinski.
Thank you for your comments this evening. Okay. So I have this evening from the community. So we'll move on to H, union communications. So any union leadership, I'd like to address the board this evening. Now, back to playground I. Administration reports.
I have a few things this evening. First, I'd like to say that in a completely different world we lived in a few years ago, our HR department has gone to new strategies to recruit employees, and it's remains a challenge for everyone. We're doing that with teachers, and tomorrow we have a job fair for special education staff here at this building from 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and it's very important. Some of these are very difficult positions to fill, so we're seeking different ways to get people in our door and learn more about our district. So that will happen tomorrow. I also attended this weekend the Chippewa Valley High School production of Susical, which was wonderful. And I applaud not only the talent of the kids, but I always say the kids are talented. They have raw talented, so the people behind the scenes, the vocal coaches, the lighting and tech crews, the choreographers, all the work that they do to help those kids shine. So it really was a wonderful show, and I applaud everyone that was involved in it, including us parents who sold candy that night and things like that. So wonderful district event. At our last board meeting, I'm sorry, not our last board meeting, it was the one before that, or possibly the one before that, we had a couple parents speak about fundraising money, wanting to, because of the pandemic, shift how it was being used. And so we spent some time on that issue, because on the surface, it seems like that is something that, should be entertained just because of the difficulty of the time. But the more we studied this issue, and we knew from the onset it violated our guidelines on how fundraising dollars could be spent. And those guidelines are there for a reason, because we're a tax exempt organization. And to shift the use of fundraised dollars is not allowable in the tax code. So for those reasons, we denied that. We not only have to protect ourselves as an institution, we also really have to protect our parents, because there are tax implications when people take money like that and spend it for a different purpose. And not that I think the IRS is going to track down parents spending some fundraising money, but that's not our issue. Our issue is to make sure our rules comply with the law. So for that reason, that request was denied. Now that money does go and stay with the choir program, which can reduce costs in other ways and and be of benefit to all students, but it cannot be used on an individual basis. So we responded to the parents with that information. So that's where we are. I kind of likened it to if someone were purchasing an airplane ticket during the pandemic, and because of the pandemic, the flight had to be canceled, they would get their money back. I mean, that would be the thing you expect, but this was different because the money was not raised in that way. It was fundraised. And because of our tax exempt status, that's the reason that we can't allow that shift in the use of the money. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about is a kind of a COVID update. You have a copy of what I'm going to talk about in your folders. Board members do. So Sarah has a little PowerPoint here. We're going to do some numbers, and I just want to show you where we are. And in spite of what you hear out there in the world with numbers and that, because of the way things have shifted, we're still in a reasonably good place. So if we can go to that first slide, we'll just go over some numbers, and these you can see what's happened in our community. Rolling averages, which were as low as 161, the 7-day rolling average in September is now 446 cases per day on a rolling average. Positivity rate, which we would expect would increase with those numbers, has, and it's up to 15.5, which last year would have been extremely alarming to us. And then if you go to the next slide, please, sir, you're going to see some case numbers here, and a little bit hard for our audience to read, but for board members, you have it in front of you. And you can see this chart is done in weeks across the top. That's that week's number of positive cases, and we're right now at the elementary level, and the number of resulting quarantines. And what you notice is cases have gone up. This is elementary level, and quarantines have actually been reduced. And that's because of the new guidelines from the health department. So if we just look at it in this way, we go from November 1st to November 8th. In November 1st, the week of November 1st, of all our elementary kids, 2% of the kids either were positive or were impacted by a quarantine on the week of November 1st. The week of November 8th, it was less than 1% were either positive or impacted by a quarantine, and the majority of them are impacted by being quarantined.
Now, because of our new testing, which we have opened up, over that 2-week period, this really would have only impacted 1% of our students, because there are 2% of their students who are quarantined who can choose to be tested every day. So a very small number of our students need to be kept out of school, and they are positive. And what we're finding is, and you'll if you look at our COVID report that's there each week every day on the website, linked cases are hard to establish. And what even in conversations with the health department, the indication is to them is the spread in school is not great. Kids are still being impacted by their homes, what happens in homes. So if we go to the middle school, I want to go over the same scenario. The numbers here have increased much more than elementary, but the percentages, when you look at it, are still low, the number of kids being impacted. So if you look at the last 2 weeks, that the numbers are there for November 1st and November 8th. November 1st, 224 total students are impacted. That's 6% of our middle school population are impacted. November 8th, we have 5% are impacted. So over a 2-week period, 11% of our students are impacted in middle school. In the middle school, 9% of those are quarantined, which means if parents choose to have their students tested, only 2% of our population will be impacted, assuming that no child ends up being positive later. And in high school, so what I'm leading to is we're keeping our kids in school, and parents have options to keep their kids in school, because that is our goal this year, to keep our students in school. And the high school numbers, if you look at those, in November 1st, there were 146 students impacted, which is 2.7% of the high school population. On November 8th, 109 students were impacted, which is 2% of the high school population, meaning that 4.7% of our high school population was impacted over this 2-week period. But 3.4% of the students can choose to be tested each day, meaning it only impacts 1.3% of our students. So the options are there, kids can stay in school. So if you go to the next page, you'll just see some of the quarantine guidelines that have changed over time, which we have reviewed before. Some of the things I'm talking about, if a student is quarantined because they're within the 3 feet, they can choose to test every day. And the next question is are they tested? Many of our parents are taking their students for testing to keep them in school. Our site began on Monday, November 8th, which is a week ago. And in the first week of testing, we had 754 tests were administered. And out of the 754 tests, there were 5 positive students and 5 positive adults. Now, the nice thing about the testing is with those 5 positive students, I'm not even sure if they were symptomatic at that point in time. And so that might save other students from being quarantined when this is found out. So the test site is there, it's functioning well. The results are given very quickly to families. So there are options for people to stay in school. They can, there are quarantines. They're far fewer than they used to be. Parents can avoid quarantines by having their children vaccinated. If parents choose not to have their children vaccinated, right now they can have them tested to keep them in school. Or if those options are not acceptable to parents, then they can stay home and live stream. So we try to, in very difficult times, establish something that meets the majority of our people's needs. So that's where we are right now with COVID. And if you have any questions, I'll do my best.
Just the elephant in the room is what had this emergency temporary rule that's been put in place for 6 months. Vaccinations, so we have a plan together by December 5th and implemented by January 4th.
Right.
That's through federal government.
Right, OSHA.
The motion. So that'll be something that you guys are.
Yeah, so that's, we just received information about that last week. And all school districts are working to figure that out collaboratively. But we also know that there's a lot going on with court cases and things like that. Regardless of that, that may take time to sort out. We still have to be prepared. So,
I understood that courts are holding it up at the national level, but my OSHA.
I at this point in time don't know all the legal details, but there's a lot of people out there working on that. You're right. My OSHA kind of works in a little different space. So I don't know if you've heard anything.
No, we just continue to work with legal counsel as we try to seek guidance on what we need to comply with the law that's out there and OSHA's recommendations. So while behind the scenes, things may go on, courts might be that a little bit, but it's still, it would be prudent for us to, just have things right. Does not mean that we're implementing anything until we have clear guidance, but there are still some things that need to be done. Systems behind the scenes that need to have in place to make sure if indeed this does go into effect on January 4th, that we're in compliance, really backing up that date of December 5th as well. So we're working on that. We are working with legal counsel on it, and we'll provide information to Superintendent Roberts. Right.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Also, was it Mr. Brodsky, you had a questionnaire that you were sending out to staff?
Yes.
And so I think everybody got that in their board packet too. When I clicked on it, I was gonna do it today, it took me to a blank, couldn't be found form. I don't know, I clicked on that link you gave us. Yeah, so I was almost able to fill it out. You gave us the sample with the question on that link.
So we were able to access it.
I clicked, it said form not found. I want to see error, form not found.
Run through our website, because our website was down.
Yeah. Website was down. It's through.
Maybe that's what it was.
Microsoft Forms, but yeah, it was rather spotty today.
Gotcha.
We'll discuss that during the.
Great, okay, we'll stop this time.
Well, thank you, Mr. Bender. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. In your packets last week, as you mentioned, you received information that's regarding the district's allocation of the elementary, secondary school emergency relief, or ESSER funds, commonly known. And they're there to address the learning recovery from the impact of COVID-19. So these funds are considered one-time or short-term expenditures. That's the ongoing impact of the pandemic. And we need to keep that in mind as we plan. In December, all districts across the state are required to submit their plans to the state. And as part of our plan, we're required to certify that the district has engaged in consultation with stakeholders and given the public an opportunity to provide their input to the development of our plan. So last week, the district distributed a survey, which you attempted to take, and I please. And it was to our school community to elicit feedback on how the ESSER funds can be utilized in 4 areas that were identified previously, such as guaranteed viable curriculum, reading, social emotional learning, wellness, and technology support and learning. That'll be in addition to what our technology department is working on. We would provide additional support. Link was provided to our staff and parents and students via school messenger on November 9th. And I will tell you that the link does work, because as of today, we've received 1,962 responses. So we're hoping that that was just a slight glitch. The window will be open until December 3rd, and then the week before, next week, right before Thanksgiving, we'll be sending out a reminder to everyone to be able to complete that, because our plan is due to the state by December 15th, and we need an opportunity to review that data. So we look for your input as stakeholders, and we look for your input by answering the questions, but we will also be keep you up to date
in terms of where we are with the plan. And I'll be asking again for any input that you may have throughout the process. Do you have any questions about what's been going on so far?
Comments, questions? Yes.
Well, I was just happy to see that we were going to our stakeholders in this.
Yes, and our school community has really come forward when it comes to surveys that are given. We do receive a really good cross section and a great number.
Sure, I was looking through all that, the packet, and I appreciate you putting that all in there for us. Was more waiting to hear back from everybody, see what we're gonna form with. We talked a lot about through COVID as a board, our mental health, or our students, and community members for that fact. The stat I heard was last week, people that are asked, identified as having problems with voices like counseling by having that identified. So just that component in our district to help identify. I know we had counselors and teachers who were making the same things and doing things like that. In this ESRP money or scares that there would be a component that we have in schools. I meant to see even pre-COVID over my some schools who drive out cast there by the high school, over middle school or every school measure. They have a community health. I think it's 24 there. So now I was meant to ask you, like, we talked about that campus too, and we're doing so now with testing CV9. So that would be I'm probably gonna maybe something you're gonna tell us about.
Well, that's very important that you do bring that up, because we are taking a look at both mental health resources for students as well as our staff.
I just have a follow-up to that because I know that a while back, I was looking at some notes today that we had talked about exploring that partnership with Easter Seals for mental health, much like they have in Berkeley. And, I know that COVID happened, but I'm not sure where we are with it.
Okay, I think that's gonna come out of this. There's a lot of some money for it too, right? Just to get started.
Yeah, and I think one of the difficulties at this time is that needs are identified like that. But that kind of employment crisis also impacts this of just finding people who are qualified to provide these services at this time, because everyone has the same need. So that's it. Don, I think Don's done a great job of getting information out to our community and following up with you, and we'll let you know how we're doing and what your thoughts about it are.
If you have any questions or concerns, you're free to.
Thank you.
I have one question.
Yes.
Regarding the vaccine mandate thing. You said we're talking to our attorneys. I'm told that the federal government and even OSHA doesn't have the power to instill a vaccine mandate. Which, if we would go along with some kind of a plan, being that it could be not legal, that would open us up to lawsuits. Are we talking to our attorneys to make sure that it is legal if this kind of thing is so-called implemented or forced on us?
Yeah, our legal counsel will advise us, either way. The job of legal counsel is to put us in the most advantageous position. So if the implementation of any type of policy would open us up to litigation, they would have to disclose that to us. And again, what they're going to be looking at is whatever's happening at federal and state level, whatever challenges are occurring. And again, typically when they look into these things, it's usually a thorough evaluation that's done and recommendation to us. Now, again, part of the challenge to any of this is the turnaround timeline on some of the things that need to happen behind the scenes. Again, part of that is a policy that's being adopted by the Board of Education at some point here early December. But yeah, so legal counsel will be looking at it from both perspectives. That's not uncommon. Anytime we incorporate legal counsel, they're going to look at, risk reward opportunity for both sides, no matter what matter.
So even though that might not be legal, or OSHA because they don't have the power, even the federal government because they don't have the power, let's just go that route, to implement a vaccine mandate. Our attorneys could still possibly say that we should put one in place just because the risk.
I think the first step, and again, I'm not training my practice, but I think the first step would be them understanding the scope of their authority as it relates to local districts and evaluating that. Again, typically in their type of evaluation, they walk through all of that stuff with us. Like, here's the scope of their oversight. Here's the policy that's being asked of us. Here's how you should implement. If you implement this way, these are some of the outcomes that it could be an outcome of implementing such policy. We are, again, it's our legal counsels put us in the best position possible. Again, give us sound guidance based on law.
So yeah, this is all just coming to light, so there's a lot of things to be discussed prior to December 4th, including what you're saying. It is a emergency temporary order, as they call it, right? As it was OSHA emergency temporary order, which this was temporary emergency order, so came down to the OSHA. So, well, a lot more we've heard of this yet. Hey, Alvin, by board, anything?
Well, I have a couple things. First of all, yay, theater's back. We, the production that the kids did was absolutely incredible. Applaud them all. And in fact, probably better than the show that's going on at the Fisher right now. And also, happy Thanksgiving. The pandemic has taught us nothing. It's that, we have a lot to be thankful for. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you. Yes, that they won't get back to after the holidays, so a little bit more normal Thanksgiving this year. Christmas holidays.
We'll see.
So something to look forward to. Okay.
I have one more thing.
Yes, absolutely.
I know I talked to Sarah. I don't know if anybody else has watched the last board meeting online. I really think we might want to readdress video or recording of the meetings. The sound was really bad. So I think it's a time we should address that. You couldn't even really understand that, so we said. So I mean, are we going to look for bids? Are we going to, what are we going to do on this?
Well, if I remember correctly, the last time we spoke of this, what we're doing is really kind of makeshift. What we were waiting for is the operations subcommittee was gonna organize and meet and talk about kind of the policies that we would implement regarding the broadcast meetings, how we would do that, what you wanted. And then we would seek equipment that met our needs. So that's where we are with that.
So we schedule for next.
Operations.
The last meeting.
Yeah.
And
But I was.
you weren't there, but we did talk about it. We wanted to go to both operations and building side.
Okay, so who's gonna discuss this then, or?
The
Operations
subcommittee, so I think you're on too.
Yeah, so when can I put in, I don't know if we have a schedule, but when is the next one scheduled? Can we schedule for prior to the next meeting?
You still gathering your info, or are you ready for a presentation?
Yeah, the boards, yeah.
Okay, so December 6th.
I think some of this needs to be kind of come from you.
Okay.
From the board. So I'm not sure sitting here right now who's on the operations subcommittee, but who's ever chair needs to call a meeting, a subcommittee meeting, and start talking about what we want this to look like.
Mr. Boyd, the chair.
I can't
All
remember.
those around everyone.
I think I'm still on it.
Okay.
Part of, I mean, that's my.
You're the chairperson.
The chair.
Okay, so I talked about
That's information,
yeah.
And operations, and then the other one was what, technology? Chair, the technology?
Yeah, was it tech or storage? Or you said building and site?
Big site,
But
technology.
if we're concerned about that, it's gonna be 3 different committees, why don't we just call it a committee as a whole?
Can do that too, before the presentation, or a workshop.
That's fine.
I think part of the issue too is the board needs to determine what they want their live stream to be like. Districts do it differently across our state. some do not live stream the meetings at night. What they do is, because they want people who are gonna express things to come here and do it, and then they post the meeting later on the website for people to view.
We don't do that.
We don't, no, right, we're live streaming. So, and then it's posted, but not all, and so you gotta think long-term. What is it that you think will meet our district's needs? So there are different options you could have regarding how you want this done.
So would you be able to present the operations committee a report on these different, would that be enough time for the district to put something together, report back to operations about options? Yeah, which camera, you know, is that enough time?
Yeah, well, I think, that you're right, and then we can give you some options on how you want the meetings, so live stream, whether it's gonna be live streamed. Right, I mean, we might just have these meetings, record the meetings, and the next day post them online.
That's
People
what
to
some,
watch
that's
that
what
way.
some of the townships do.
So, yeah, some do it that way, and there's pros and cons to all different ways of doing it, so.
So just so what I'm hearing is that really the operations committee isn't gonna be about the actual tech, it's gonna be about the policies that will guide which tech we purchase.
Right.
Yeah, you know, at the township, we've done it for a long time, and, we're doing a hybrid way of doing it, you may not wanna do that, but there's two separate things, one's the policy, the other's the equipment. And we had to upgrade our equipment because they had like security cameras for years, and you couldn't see anything here, but I think that's what we're saying about this equipment, is maybe we should look into the equipment and at the same time look into policy.
How's our agenda looking for the 5th December?
I have no idea right now.
If we could, that'd be nice to put that quick workshop in that night to talk about it. Do that amongst the whole board. If you're ready, you just keep us abreast. We got to write the.
And Mr. We have back-to-back meetings in December, so if it's not the 5th, I'll let you know how we're doing. So if you do it on the 12th, then.
Mr. Crowe, you know anything about the equipment they chose or whatever, I mean,
Yeah, I'll get you a list.
yeah, that would help too. Okay.
It was just a year ago.
Okay, that sounds awesome. Okay,
That's it. Anything else? Okay, again, have a great, safe Thanksgiving, everybody. Thanks for all your work, and we shall see you in December. To adjourn. Moved by Ms. Biden, supported by Ms. Farrell. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries adjournment 8:20. Thank you.